This time on Road and Race, ever had to heat a Siezed brake line so much it explodes? Me neither. In my previous video, I went through and sorted out a few of the smaller issues with my Boxster that have been annoying me. This week I'm cutting out and replacing all the rusted brake hard lines that are on this car. This is actually quite a common fault on Boxsters and 911s of this generation, and boy did they give me a fight. The brake lines on this car are properly seized, so I've had to get a little bit creative. On the front driver's side of the car, it's all pretty simple here. The existing hard brake line, this one here, hasn't got any rust or corrosion, so that's fine. I'm going to replace the flexible hose, and I'm going to replace this rusted pipe here. Easy peasy, no problems. On this side, passenger front side, the front brake line is quite corroded, so I need to replace that. And that's quite a long run, because it goes all the way up there, behind the wheel arch lining, up into the bonnet. Don't really want to have to take all that apart and try and feed a hard line through there. So I think the plan for this one here is I'm just going to cut it and join on some new pipes. So I'll cut it kind of here and join on some new pipe. Flexi hoses I've ordered, and again, new one of these hard brake lines, easy to do. Moving on to underneath the car, this hard brake line here has a tiny bit of corrosion here. So again, I think rather than try and replace this whole section, which again goes up into the wheel arch, all the way around the wheel, goes up into here, all the way up there, I'm just going to again try to cut it, say here, and then join it together. Only goes to that junction box there, so it's a short piece from the junction box to there, and I'll join it up. That should be fairly straightforward to do. It's only one out of the two pipes that has any corrosion. Now, for the rear, both these two pipes have corrosion up here in the corner, so they both need replacing. Luckily, I found a supplier who will sell me braided steel, stainless steel lines, which fit in here, which means that I don't need to drop the gearbox to replace this hard line that wiggles all the way around here, all the way around here, all the way around here, all the way around and out there. I will have the gearbox off in a few weeks, so I might wait to do that then. But anyway, I have a solution, I have a plan, and that will replace the corroded brake lines that are up there. There's the junction box that joins the front of the brake lines to the rear of the brake lines, and I've just put loads of penetrating fluid in there now to give me a fighting chance of getting that apart. Managed to get all those loose without too much effort. What I will say though is the sometimes expensive tools are useful. I've got some 11mm flare spanners here. These are Yato on the left, which are quite cheap, and got some snap-ons on the right, which were quite expensive. I can't remember the exact price now, but I started with the first one I picked up, which was the Yato, and because this was so tight, and the Yato isn't quite exactly 11mm, it was rounding the nut. But I put the snap-on on it, and it fitted really snugly, and I could put a lot of effort into it, and got it loose. So there you go, sometimes expensive tools do pay off. On the front driver's side wheel, just trying to take this slightly corroded hard line off the brake caliper. This came off very easy. I thought, oh yes, this side would be just as easy, but it's not. Just rounding the nuts with this one, even with the snap-on tools, just rounding it. So even though I don't have to take the whole caliper off, probably am going to have to, which is ironic, because it's the only one that has already replaced copper lines, so I didn't actually need to take this one off. Oh well. The caliper and the vise, you can compare just how rounded this side is. If you check out this nut here, which was easy to remove, This one here is almost completely rounded at the top. So since I'm replacing this hard line here, I'm going to cut it off and then put a ratchet on it and try and get it off that way. Well, even with a breaker bar and a 6-point socket, this thing isn't budging. I've got more penetrating fluid just soaking in there now. So I could try a bit of heat, but what I'm actually going to try is using this rounded bolt remover. So it's got these kind of teeth. So I got it out. Yeah. Look at that. Look at that. There was absolutely no way that was coming off the car if it's still attached. Thank you very much, Erwin. Geez, I hope the rest aren't going to be like this. I bet they will be though. I've still got these Brembo lines to the caliper when I rebuilt my old 986 brakes. So if they fit, that'll be handy. Yeah, so the rears fit fine. We'll use those. Here's the plan for the front passenger brake hardline. So obviously you can see all the corrosion there. There's also a little bit of corrosion just up here as well. So the plan is to cut the pipe just above the corrosion here and get the tool, the flaring tool in here, like so, and put a new piece of line just in here. I'm completely out of my comfort zone doing this. I've never done this before. So here goes. Well, that's cut. No going back now. Right, with that stuff out of the way, I've put my little nut up there and use the flaring tool here to make the flare. I've used a special end piece to get the pipe lined up correctly, locked it down using the 2 tightening nuts, and then I'm going to do the first punch by screwing this in. And there we go, we have a flare. Here's the piece of line I've made up to replace the bit I've cut out. Just need to pop back on the car. And here's my new piece of copper nickel line attached to the existing hard line. I'm pretty pleased with that actually. I didn't think I'd be able to kind of do that, but it seems to have gone quite well. Obviously, the real test will come when I pressurise the system and we'll see if there's any leaks, but so far so good. Obviously the next task is to get some flexi line which connects this hard line here up to my new hard line just here. But that's for a later video. With that done, it's time to come to the underneath the car. So what I'll do is I will chop this hard line about here and then make another piece. Looks very straightforward, it's just straight with a couple of, or 1 bend, 2 bends at the end. And here we have our flared brake line. Now we just need to make something like this. And here we are. Here we are with the new copper nickel line installed. This little section here, I'm just going to put some kind of padding to stop it, you know, vibrating and damaging anything below it or above it or side of it and anything like that. But all in all, there we go. Quite happy with that. Now onto the final brake line, the front driver's side. Now, as previously discussed, this hard line here doesn't appear to have any obvious signs of rust on it. So all I technically need to do is remove this flexi hose. But I've had so much difficulty with every other side of the car getting this nut out of the flexi line. It's just absolutely welded in that rather than trying to get loads of heat in here and heat up and potentially damage the car and things like that, because I've kind of got this process of cutting and replacing sections of pipe fairly okay now, I'll just cut it out. I think that's probably the easiest thing. Plus, if you really want to get really detailed, you know, it does seem to be a bit bobbly. You know, the brake line here, it just seems to maybe has had some rust or something in the past and something's painted over it. Because it's unusual that every other one's rusty and this one isn't. So maybe it is rusty under here and I can't see. So yeah, let's cut it off. Just to show you how absolutely seized these hard lines are into the flexi hoses, I've whacked one in a vise, and even with loads of penetrating fluid, put a bit more on, which you couldn't do because it's upside down on the car, so you can't get penetrating fluid into the threads. You try and put a spanner on it, it will not move, and all you end up doing is rounding off the nut. I mean what I'll do to demonstrate, I'll put some heat into it. Even then, it doesn't even want to go. What's that? Wow, did you see that? Look what's happened. The bottom of the flexi hose has exploded off the bottom of that. The dangers of heat, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, let's see if I can get the nut off. That's never happened to me before. Goggles on, penetrating fluid. There we go. So that's happening. It is moving now. Next thing you'll notice is that the line is also moving with the nut, which means you'd completely destroy it if you're trying to save it on the car. So again, heat will get the nut moving, but if the actual brake line is still seized inside it, then you're going to wreck it anyway. 20-year-old brakes, eh? Just to show you a bit of a close-up, this is the bottom of the flexi hose that just exploded out the bottom. Here you can see where the flexi hose, the crimp, has just let go. Shot this out. Here's a new brake line back on the caliper. Here we are with the new hard lines all connected up. Even though I thought I wouldn't have to make up this particular little hard line here, I did have to make one in the end because it was too long to fit the retaining clip in. The previous garage who'd done this so-called repair, I just left it kind of floating in midair. So yeah, let's make it nice and proper, shall we? Well, those brake lines are giving me a little bit of a battle. I'm glad the rusty bits are no more. I've decided to fit the rear stainless steel lines a bit later, as the next video will be the big one, replacing the dreaded IMS bearing. The exhaust and gearbox need to come off for that job, so give me a bit more space to get those rear flexible brake lines in. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, please do give it likes. It really helps the channel grow. And as always, thanks for watching.